In this video, I'm going to show you how to get your pattern development ready to cut on the Cricut cutter. A couple things to get started here. It's important that your design is down near the UCS. So this is your 0, 0. If you start a rectangle, and normally we click somewhere, I'm just going to type in 0, 0. That'll get you in the bottom left corner. And then set this up for the sheet of paper. So this would be 11, 8.5. So that's your letter size sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. You can delete the box later. You just need to make sure your design fits in there. Also notice how when I hover over my design, this is a polyline. A couple ways you can do that. So I'm going to show you that over here. I'm just going to copy this piece of geometry over here, and I'm going to explode it. So it's like you would have all these individual little pieces. Two ways you can go about this. The fastest way would be to go up to the boundary tool and simply select inside, just like you would hatch, and right click. That will give you a copy of your geometry as a polyline. So notice I still have my original lines, and then I have the polyline. It's really important for the Cricut cutter that you only have one set of geometry. So I'd also use overkill when you're all finished here. So in this case, I still have these individuals. Over here, notice these are individual lines. So your score lines will be individual. Your boundary around the outside, your cut path, needs to be all chained together. The other way to go about that is to use the P-Edit tool. So you're going to type in P-Edit. You can select a polyline. You say, yeah, I want to change it into one, and then you're going to say join, and then you can grab all of the geometry as long as it's connected, and it's going to create that polyline for you. So now that's grouped together. That might be easier so you don't have to move things around and end up with duplicate copies. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this extra stuff here, and before we go into the Cricut, we have to save this in a couple different versions to get it ready for Cricut. So your first step, hopefully you've already saved your file, which I have. It's called Sample Pattern for Cricut. I'm going to go to Save As up here, and I'm going to select the folder I have on my desktop here. So this is Cricut Pattern, and I'm going to save this as Video Pattern. And it's important that you save this down to AutoCAD 2010. If you don't, Illustrator will not recognize it. So for file type, drop down 2010 and hit save. At this point, you're ready to close this. So you've already saved it. You're going to go over to Illustrator. You're going to have to open that up, so you may have to go in your start menu and type in Adobe Illustrator. If you've never opened Illustrator before, you would have to put your username and password in. So this will be your start screen from when you first open up Illustrator. You're going to open. You're going to browse for your file. So the file that I just made is called Video Pattern. So I'm going to hit open on this. This is really important that you have this scaled by 100%, and your scale is 1 unit equals 1 inch. If you have this as points, it's not going to be the right size. So take a minute again, make sure scale is 100%, and then the scale is 1 to 1, and your units are set to inches. You're going to hit OK. And you're going to see your design pop up here. You don't have to do anything in Illustrator other than export this as an SVG, which is a scalable vector graphic. So you're going to go to File, Export, Export As. In the drop down there, you have a couple different options. You're going to select SVG. I'm going to keep this the same. I'm going to call it Video Pattern, and it's going to have that SVG at the end. So I'll hit Export, and I'm just going to hit OK on this menu here. If I go to my File Explorer there and I look on my desktop and in my Cricut pattern, here's my video pattern. It says it's an HTML, but this isn't your SVG document. This is what you're going to import into the Cricut software. So over in Cricut, so we'll go over to our Cricut design space. You will need to have created a profile for this, which is free. I'm going to go to a new project, and in the new project I'm just going to upload my design. So I'm going to go to upload. I'm going to go to upload image. You can see I've done this a number of times in some practices here. I'm going to hit browse, Notice it can look for SVG. It says it can get DXF, but that does not work well. So I'm going to grab my video pattern one that I just named, that's by SVG, and hit open. If you want to name it something different here, you can. I'm going to leave it called video pattern, and then I'm going to hit save. This is going to take me to all the different things I've uploaded as I've gone through this. So I'm going to select this image, and then I'm going to say insert image. And that dumps it on top of my canvas. Now, you may need to move this. So if you look at the canvas here, we have boards that are like 12 inches wide. You're going to probably need to move this up in the corner, otherwise it's going to run off the paper. So you're going to glue, not glue, but it's like a self-adhesive mat, and you're going to glue this in or stick it on, and the paper is only 11 inches. So you got to make sure you fit this thing in that 8.5 by 11 grid that's on there. Once it's been placed, if you look over here on the right, you can toggle off the cut, and that's the pattern that you have around the edge. That's why it was really important to do that as a polyline. So I can toggle that off, and then down here I'm going to select all of these. So I'm going to hold the control button down and get all of these that it says are currently cuts, but these are what I want to be scores. So up here for line type, I'm going to change this to score. Notice how the dash pattern changes. That's how it represents the score. And then I'm going to turn on the eyeball, which does hide the scores, but that's allowing me to do my score and my cut when they're both on. The next thing is to select all of the geometry on here, and at the bottom right hand side go to attach. This makes sure that everything sticks together when you go to make it. Now, you're not going to make this from your computer. You're going to log into the computer that's log into Cricut on the computer that's right next to the Cricut cutter. But at this point you need to save it. Okay, so put your name here and put pattern 1 or whatever you're doing. You're doing pattern 2 for yours, and hit save. And at that point, you're going to go over to the Cricut Design Center. You're going to log into your Cricut account, and we'll pull up your file and cut it. So that's the end of this video. When you have this saved, I'll help you out cutting your design.